Welcome to the Commercial Kitchen Chronicles, the podcast dedicated to commercial food equipment repair. My name is Pat Finley. I'm a lead master certified technician at General Parts Group and a certified special trainer. My goal is to shine a light on what I believe to be one of the most interesting and rewarding industries a field service technician can work in. I love the work I do, and I'm glad you're here listening to this podcast. In today's episode, I talk with Rich Ortega from Whaley's. What's going on, everybody? Today we've got a very special guest. I've never met him in person. I can't wait till the day I actually do, though. His name is Rich Ortega. Rich is a technician for Whaley. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So, Rich, I followed him on LinkedIn. I see him posting, and I always love seeing fellow kitchen guys. So I started following him, and it didn't take me very long to realize this guy is pretty much like my long lost brother. He's all about taking care of his customers and doing what's right. I mean, if you're going to do that, you're going to go a long way. So thanks for coming on, Rich.
For sure. Thanks for having me, dude. Yeah, I like a lot of your stuff too. Almost everything. And I felt the same way. I think I messaged you too and was like, yeah, bro, somehow, somewhere we're definitely related. So
yeah, it's just cool. Crazy. It's just, I mean, in our industry, it's easy for guys to take the easy way out. They may get lucky and throw a part at something, not troubleshoot it, and hey, it came on and skate, but that's not how we really need to do. That's not what we want to do for our industry. So, I mean, you always take time, try to make sure you find the root cause and make sure your customer's taken care of. And I mean, that's my philosophy. So,
100%. 100%. It's like, when I interviewed at Whaley, because I only been at Whaley a little bit over a year.
Really?
I moved to the Greenville, South Carolina area. Now, I've been doing this for 15, 16, 17 years, somewhere around there. But one of the things I told my boss in the interview was, Whaley for me, and I love the company, don't get me wrong, because this could be misinterpreted, but Whaley is just a name on a van when I show up to a service call. Rich is my name, my face, my hands on the machine. For the most part, if they're not happy with the service, they're not going to say Whaley sucks. They're going to say Whaley sent some idiot out here who didn't know what he was doing. And I'm not going to be that idiot that didn't know what he was doing. So I'm always going to do my best, not to just change the part. Because, a lot of these repairs are just changing a part, but always look to see if there's a root cause, especially when you've got, multiple failures, multiple of the same failure, and without trying to hijack stuff too early on, it's like, just came to mind a call that I went to. We had a high school. They had like 6 brand new convection oven. I think it was 3 double stacks or 4 double stacks. So they had 6 or 8 ovens, and they started having they had a history of electrical failures. All kind of different electrical components are being changed out. So they send me out to go look at it, and I'm like, there's way too many switches and fuses and all this stuff to for there to not be a root cause. So I'm working on these ovens, and I got these ovens tore all apart to the point that the guy that runs the kitchen is like, dude, you're like really getting in there. So I got it torn apart. I'm going through the whole thing, finally come out and find out the wrong voltage was put to the units at installation. When the contractor installed them, they only had half the voltage running to it. And then I'm like, please tell me there's no way, no how. I said, let me check every other oven we got here, even though I'm only on the call for this one oven. Every single oven there, same issue. But, that was just because I'm like, there's no way in the world we can have this many defective switches, this many defective fuses, timers, everything else we were changing. There's no way that oven and these manufacturers are just sending out this many defective parts. But that's just me. I got to find out, why is it doing this,
Yep. I mean, I fully understand. That's the way we need to be as an industry. I mean, you're not doing your customer any justice to run in there, change the part, and leave, and then 3 months later, you come back, change the same part again because you didn't find or bother to fix the root cause. I mean, it's all going to come back to you in the long run. So that's an excellent point to make. I mean, and a lot of these manufacturers, they used to do paid startups or paid performance, checks, and they went away from it. And unfortunately, you run in situations like you had there. The kitchen company's installing it, don't check. They just throw them in, turn them on, they come on, see you later. If they don't come on, call a service company. They don't do voltage checks. They don't do gas pressure checks, and it's amazing how many times you go out and you'll find something that's propane and it's just all natural gas, or vice versa. And you're
all the time.
like, why'd you get these ovens? I'm like, and they're like, oh, the salesman says what we needed. I'm like, did the salesman check the voltage? Well, no, he said it'd work. I'm like, you don't have enough gas volume for, to add these two ovens in here. You don't have enough gas
Or
volume that's going to handle this stuff.
my
Just,
favorite on those lines is, the stove's a piece of junk, this, that, and the other. You get there and they never opened up the pilots, whoever installed the thing. And I'm like, dude, who did your install, bro? Like, because if I do an install, I'm doing a complete startup. I'm checking, obviously, the pressure, adjusting the pilots, adjusting, if it's a gas range, the airflow, all that good stuff. I'm gonna turn on my ovens. I'm gonna let them cycle 3-4 times and make sure the thermostats, are operating properly. And by the time I'm done with that startup, either that thing's running perfect, or it's like, hey, guess what? This part actually, arrived bad. Let me order you a new one. I'll be back in a few days, whatever it is, get you up and running. Versus, plug it up, go, and then they got their grand opening and they can't cook anything.
yeah, there's nothing worse than that. We get the calls all the time. We don't. I mean, especially if we don't install it, customer, oh, we're opening up this Friday, and here it is Wednesday, and we gotta have this oven fixed. I'm like, cool. First of all, you're not even in the system. You're not a customer. Who's the manufacturer? Are they going to pay for overtime service gets out there? It's just, I said time and time again, it's like a lot of these times these salesmen, dude, they're their own worst enemy. I mean,
oh yeah,
just because there's a gas hook up there and a plug doesn't mean the oven's going to work there.
yeah, exactly, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I got a convention center right now. They got 4 Rationale 202s. They're getting 4 new ones. And the old ones were 120 volts, and the sales was like, "Oh yeah, like for like." And I'm like, "No, the new ones are all 208."
All right.
I'm like, and they're already in the dock. I'm like, "What are we gonna do?" I'm like, "You're gonna get an electrician that add 208 to 4 spots." Well, that's gonna be expensive. I'm like it's less expensive than shipping these ovens back and then paying for a 120 volt oven.
Oh yeah,
because they don't play. I mean, if you order 120 volt Rationale, dude, you're paying an extra. I forget how much one said. It was like several grand more. So, I mean, they'll figure it out one day. Until then, we'll just show up and make some money.
I mean, I'm not gonna complain about it. Easy money with that sometimes.
So I didn't realize you'd only been with Whaley for a year. So I've been doing this about the same length. I've been doing it for 17 years. I'm actually started off at it used to be GCS, then became Smart Care. I started off there for a few years, bounced around a couple of years. I've been here for 12 years, and it's had its ups and downs. I mean, we were purchased 2 years ago by PT Holdings, and at first I was mad. I thought about it and got over it. It's worked out pretty good for me. I can't complain. I get to do a lot of cool stuff that I wouldn't be able to probably do anywhere else. And they support me in all my stupid little ventures, and they're behind it 100%. Right. It all comes back to trying to shine a light on this industry. This industry, so many people don't even know it even exists.
Oh yeah. I mean, I only really know about this industry because I'm actually like 3rd generation in my family doing this. So my grandfather did it, my dad, I got an uncle who does it. So I mean, if it wasn't for that, I can't imagine that I would have known about it. Because like you said, a lot of people don't, and there's so much opportunity in this industry. Especially, and to me, obviously, I respect all the trades, but there's a lot of people that are in, say, residential HVAC or who knows what else, or say residential appliances, and they could be doing so much more, as far as financially and probably, some of the experiences you get doing this if they decided to, jump over to this field. Because even as long as I've been doing this, I mostly have worked for mom and pop companies. Whaley's the first big company I work for, and I'm like, dude, the stuff I get to work on stuff that customers that I had in the past could not even afford to buy. And I'm like, it's really cool. And it's a lot of different stuff.
Yeah. I've never worked for those small places, so I don't know what it's like. So I've always worked for, GCS as part of Smart Care. So it's a big conglomerate. I've worked here for coming on 12 years. And so I've never really done the small shops. So I don't know what that environment's like. People always ask me, oh, which would you rather work for? I'm like, to be honest, I can't tell you. I said, I've only done it, for the big guys. I've never done it for the little guys. I said, I'm sure each has its own individual, ups and downs. But I said, for me, I'm pretty well taken care of. So I can't complain.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I'm definitely well taken care of. I mean, the pay is good. The branch manager supervisors are all great. They're very much, at least at our branch here in Greenville, they're very much, do what you got to do. We're here to support you. We don't want to micromanage you. And go out there, make money, and do right.
Is that one of your guys there?
Yeah, that's my hillbilly right there.
What's up,
Brian.
Brian? Nice to meet you, man. That's funny. I figured that was one of your guys.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Jeremiah says it's very rare that we do a like for like swap out. Yeah, it's. I mean, some refrigeration stuff will get away with it, but most of the stuff we're not doing like for like. They say it's like for like, and it never works out that way.
Yeah, and it's funny because me and Brian that just commented, we do a ton of jobs together. We do like all the big equipment change outs for the most part, all that stuff. And every so often, just to piss him off, I'll be like, "Oh, this should be easy." And as soon as you say this should be easy, it's gonna go downhill.
Dude,
And we'll be sitting there in the middle of the job, and he's like, "Why in the hell did you say this was gonna be easy?"
Yeah, I refuse to say that term, man. Like, no, every time I say it's always gonna make the bite me in the ass. So I try to avoid saying it. That's funny.
Whenever a customer's like, "How long is it gonna take?" As fast as I can get it done without cutting corners. I promise you, that's it.
Yeah.
The minute you tell them 20 minutes, 30 minutes, you're gonna be there half the day.
No, yeah. What is it? Every 30-minute job's one strip bullet away from being a half a day or something.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
That's always been my downfalls. Oh yeah, it's gonna be easy. No, you just screwed yourself. So I refuse to say it. All right. So you see you live in the Greenville, South Carolina area. How close is that to? That's pretty far south of South Carolina, isn't it?
I mean, I'm still getting figured out in the whole area, so I can't tell you. I know I'm like 6-7 hours to Jacksonville, Florida. I'm originally from Florida, from outside of Orlando. So I know I'm 6-7 hours from there, and I'm 5 hours from Lynchburg, Virginia, because I spent 10 months up there. So that's all I know about that.
So how'd you land where you're at, South Carolina?
Okay, so I left Florida. Me and my family, we moved to Lynchburg, Virginia. We've been out of Florida probably going on 3 years now. I'm gonna just ballpark it. So we went up there. We were there for about 10 months, and we had come down and visited some family that I have in the area here. And we were like, man, this is a nice area. We might want to, move here in the future. Well, fast forward 3 months, our apartment caught on fire, burned down.
Wow.
It just happened to be when there was a huge event in the Lynchburg area. There was nowhere to stay. Our family members were like, hey, come stay with us till you get on your feet, whatever. And then we were like, well, we was talking about moving here, so let's go ahead and stay. And then I put in the restaurant group, hey, who's hiring in Greenville? A guy commented, said, hey, Whaley's hiring. And that's where I am now.
Nice, that's cool. So it all worked out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've always heard great things about Whaley. I've met some of the guys at some of the shows I've been to. I've been to NRA last year. I went to NAFM. I went to the FESA conference. So I met Woody. He's pretty cool. I met a couple of the other guys. I'm terrible with names. I just remember his name because it's Woody. So,
right.
So that's an easy one to remember. So that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, everybody I've interacted with, at least, as far as higher ups go, have all been real cool.
Yeah. I'm anxious to see what they got coming up. I guess they're going to start working on some training centers and across.
Yeah, you were telling me about that. What's that going to look like? Do you know?
I'm not sure yet. I know they're wanting to do. I think the goal is eventually to have 4. So they got the program that's down in Texas already, and I think they're going to do one at your corporate office, and I think they're going to do one at GP's corporate office and somewhere out west. So it's going to be a cool opportunity, especially for some of the guys that want to start training and doing some other stuff like that. So we'll see how that goes. I know I'm looking forward to it. My goal in the next 10 years is to be heavily involved in training. I don't know if I'll ever come out completely out of the field, but I like teaching new guys, younger guys, and trying to mold those guys. So
yeah, that's something I enjoyed. I think I enjoy it, or sometimes I feel like, you know what? I mean, if I want them to be trained decent, there's only a handful of us that can do it, and the rest of the group that can do it doesn't want to. So I'm like, yeah, I'll do it, whatever.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, the problem is if the guys bounce around too much, they pick up bad habits from guys. So we've got some new guys, and they don't they've been of guys have been doing this for years, and they do not do the computer side of it, the tablet side. They don't do the data tags. They don't do the equipment. I mean, they don't take the pictures like they're supposed to. I'm just like, you worked with a guy who's been doing this for how many years, and he didn't teach you this? I'm like, so then they think they can get away with it because the other guys don't. I'm like, the bad habits are the hardest part to break on guys. It seems like. I mean, I can teach them how to fix anything, but the bad habits always end up seeming like bite me in the ass.
Oh yeah. We've got a few guys that they kind of spread their bad habits around whenever they get the chance. So yeah,
I mean, they can. Most of those guys can fix anything, but yet, I mean, it's just when the information needs to be there. I mean, we've got too much stuff that we do that tracks life cycle and stuff like that, and if you don't do your part of it, it's useless. And
yeah, for sure.
It's cool. No other comments. So you do hot side and cold side. So you do it all in.
Yep. Yeah, and when I was in Florida, I mostly did cold side. I mean, in that market, you can be more than busy just doing refrigeration and ice makers. I did, some hot side, and it would mostly be like, well, I'm here, working on your walk-in anyway. I might as well check out your grill or your fryer that's down too. Here, I do a good mix of both of them. Honestly, probably more hot side now. I think we're just busier on hot side here than we are on cold side stuff. But yeah, if it's in the restaurant, I can either fix it or figure out how to fix it.
That's what I always tell everybody. They're like, what do you do? I was like, anything in the kitchen. I was like, from the fryers to the dish machines, garbage disposals, ice makers, anything. I was like, if it's in the kitchen, I'll fix it. I mean, it may take me a little bit, but I'll fix it eventually.
Oh yeah, every so often I'll call my supervisor and be like, they want me to look at this thing. Can I look at it? I'm like, I can fix it, but am I allowed to fix it? And be like, you can do it, go ahead.
Dude, I've done hand dryers in bathrooms, like air curtains over the back doors, coming and going, that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
I mean,
air curtain is one of the things I was thinking about when I was saying that. I was at a restaurant and they're like, yeah, can you check out our air curtain when you're done with whatever I was working on? Call my supervisor. Hey, can I work on the air curtain? Yeah, if you want to. All right, cool. Let's do it.
Yeah. I'll fix it. I'll work on anything. I like the challenge and the diversity is the best thing I think about, our job. So,
oh yeah.
Yeah, Solomon Templar in here says hello from Bluffton, Indiana. So he's right up the road from me, about an hour away.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think I follow him or he follows me on LinkedIn. What's up, dude?
He's a pretty good guy. He's a in-house Walmart guy now, so he does a lot of that stuff at the Walmarts. We used to do a little bit. We do some at the neighborhood stores on the rationales, but that's about it.
Yeah, we do that too. We do the rationales at the neighborhood store, and then we do the refrigerators outside the Murphy's Oil.
So Todd Brady says, Rich, you like training new guys? Mine always want to be on the phone or not paying attention, and they think they are ready. I get that, man. It's a battle, especially the younger guys. They've always had that phone in their hands, so they're always trying to use it. I try to, if they're going to be on the phone, I just call them out, man. I mean, I don't know what you can do. You got to stay off that phone. I mean, especially when you're out on your own. So I use like JobLink probes, and everything has Bluetooth, so I can see it all on my phone. And I make sure, like, the customer will look at me and see me on my phone, and I make sure I show them, hey, look, this is what I'm doing. I show them refrigeration pressures or timer, or even my voltmeters now, is Bluetooth to my phone, so I can look at it that way. I do that a lot, especially if I'm checking temperatures on an oven. Some of those Alto-Shaam cooking holes take like an hour and a half to heat up and cycle. And I'll just throw my Bluetooth thermometer in there, and I'll be out in the dining room, doing paperwork or looking up stuff for other jobs. So you just got to make sure you explain to your customers why you're on the phone. But yeah, the new guys on the phone thing drives me nuts, man. If the guys think they're ready, I'll let them, run a job on their own. I'll sit in the truck or I'll sit in the dining room and wait and see what they do. And then when they struggle, come get me or figure it out.
That's what Todd does too. Todd's another guy that works with me there. So that's like, oh, you think you're ready? Okay, go. And then 30 minutes later, he's calling them to find out how bad they screwed it up.
Yeah, my son's one of our apprentices, man, and I let him go, and I'm like, eventually, I'm like, you gotta figure it out. Are you mad yet? Have you got it, or are you making progress? If not, I'll come in and help you. And most time, I'm starting to figure it out. So okay, I'll give a few more minutes and I'll go check on them.
Oh yeah.
So ice makers are my curiosity. You guys have insight into aqueous ozone for reducing manual cleanings. So I have not seen that. The only ozone I've seen has been on the faucets.
The biozones?
Yeah, where they just pump it into the bin. I'm not sure exactly how well that works.
Yeah, I don't do enough PMs anymore to know if those things are really efficient or not, unfortunately.
Yep. I've seen them, just never followed up, cleaned them or anything like that.
Yeah,
I
I've
mean,
installed them. I've seen them, but there's a whole nother group of guys that does that and can probably answer that question.
yeah, the in the falls generally don't get slimy. I mean, they do in the band, but not the head. I mean, they do if you get water leaks and stuff, but most time it's not that bad. So Joshua says BioZone is awesome. That's good to know. Um, I've had some of
What's
my
Joshua's last name that said that?
Michael
Mitchell
yeah,
Stewart.
Mitchell Stewart's. That one, they were your coworkers.
That's another coworker of mine too.
All right, man. These guys are killing it for me.
But Josh is the guy that would know that. So if he says it's awesome, yeah, then it's awesome.
Yeah, and Brian said they keep the bin clean and slime. So that's good to know. We got a new guy. He came over from the residential HVAC side. He dealt with a lot of like air cleaners and stuff. He was always asking me about it.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, I always thought they were a gimmick, but I never really, like I said, seen them. And the customers I had in the past before I came to Whaley, they barely wanted to spend money on the ice machine, let alone something to help keep it clean.
Yeah, that's a good point. We don't do a whole ton of PNs. We used to. It seems like it comes and goes in spurts. I had Joey on a couple weeks ago. We were talking about PMs, and I always had the mindset of I make too much money on PMs. I'm wasting my time. I'm more valuable somewhere else. And then after watching Joey and you and read some stuff, I'm like, man, that's not really the outlook you want to have to PM. I mean, especially if it's like one of your customers you take pride in, you want to make sure it's done right. We should take pride in all of our work.
I listened to that episode today, matter of fact, on my way home from the install that I did. And one of the things I kept hearing was like, y'all were saying, even if you take longer than you should, you should be generating revenue on the back end. And I used to do PMs at the last company I was with. And I mean, the amount of back end revenue we generated, because we would go through everything. We would sit there and like I remember one customer in particular, we would do PMs and we would do cold side stuff for him, but we didn't do any hot side. But when we did our PMs, we still checked all the hot side equipment. And I went through and I think he had a broiler and I went and checked the valves, just rotate, turning them on and off, and you could feel a few of them sticking. So I told him, I'm like, hey bro, these are sticking, I can re-grease them, I can replace them, what do you want me to do? So he just goes, well, how'd you find it? I'm like, oh, it's part of our checklist, when we're going through. And he's like, and just through this, maintenance, you found that? I'm like, yeah, why? Because he was acting kind of like confused. And he goes, oh, well, so-and-so company was just out here working on that thing. And they didn't tell me that those were bad. And they were here 3 days ago. So I said, well, come here, let me show you. So he started turning them and he's like, yeah, these are tight. He was like, yeah, go ahead and replace them. And then from that moment on, we had his hot side too. So it's exactly what you say. When you're, putting the attention to detail and wanting to do a good job, not just clock out and, take your happy behind home, you are going to make money on the back end. You're going to build that trust with the customer that y'all were talking about. You're obviously going to build trust with your employer because they're going to say, man, every time this guy goes to this place, that place, he's catching all these things. They're turning into, service calls and whatnot. So it benefits everybody all the way around. You stop customer stuff from, breaking down Saturday night, like everything seems to want to break down. All the important equipment breaks down Fridays and Saturdays. So yeah, doing a good job, being thorough is just a win for everybody.
Yeah, even if I'm working on something like, say if I worked on a fryer and I'm waiting on it to heat up, I changed a temp probe or something, and I'm waiting on it to heat up, temperature before I filter or whatever. I'll look around. Like if I see a gasket hanging on a cooler, I'll point that out. If I see a real dirty burner or a pilot that's not out on a range, I'll point that out. Like, hey, I can take a look at this, I can clean this. And sometimes, man, if they got a pilot that's out, I try to light it. If it's not out, if it won't light, I'll go ahead and clean it. And they're like, hey, I went ahead and cleaned that pilot and got it running for you. I seen it was out. And they're like, you did what? I'm like, well, I was just waiting on this fryer. I was just here anyways. And they're like, oh man, we appreciate that. Just the small stuff. You're just standing there and be busy. It's not like it's hard work. It's just you can see the stuff a mile away, dude. They grab the sprayer on the hose, the 3-bay sink, and they spray it, and the water goes everywhere but straight. It's like, hey, I can replace that. I can throw you a new head on there, and you'll be good to go. Oh, you guys do that? I'm like, man, we do anything in here.
Exactly. And all the time I've been doing this, I've had very few people complain about you trying to do more stuff than you're quote unquote there to do. You know what I mean? Because like you said, most customers are going to be grateful that you're catching stuff. It may be something they didn't notice, or maybe something that's been in the back of their mind the whole time, but they keep forgetting. And then, like you said, you catch the sprayer that's leaking, or whatever else is going on, and you're the hero, which is an easy thing to do in this business. Is constantly be the hero.
Yep. So Joshua says, I don't know how it works. It's 50% UV rays and 50% magic. But when we clean CFA bins, they are seldom dirty compared to non-biozone bins. That's good information. That's good to know. Like I said, I've been seeing it become more and more popular. I don't do any CFA bin clean. I don't do any CFA ice machines or PMs. That you guys, it's probably a big customer for you because I seen you talking about going in on. I seen you talking about going in on Sunday. So I already knew where you were going if you were doing a PM on Sunday. That's
that was so Josh over there could enjoy some time away that he had to take.
It happens to the best of us. So we got equipment dude David. Do y'all take free food as the customer offers it to you? He says he does.
As long as the place ain't nasty, yeah, I will.
Dude, I tell everybody when I started this job, I was like 6 foot tall, like 235 pounds. I had a beer gut. I was an electrician up and down ladders all over the place, and I've had a weight battle for years just because I went from being active to sitting in a van driving. And like the first 6 months, I refused to take anything from anywhere, and then I realized like, man, I've been eating this shit for years. The only thing different now is I see the kitchen, and yeah, it's a bad habit to do. You got to stay active and stay working out if you're gonna eat free food all day every day. So, that's funny. But no, I mean, I always tell people they're like, "Oh, that restaurant's nasty." Let's just McD's. They want to blame McD's. Oh, that's disgusting. I'm like, no, it's not. They're like, what do you mean? I was like, can you see the kitchen? Yeah. I was like, can you see the guy making your sandwich? Like, yeah. I was like, I can tell you $100 a person steakhouse is absolutely disgusting right now that I wouldn't eat there. I'm like, just because you pay more for the food doesn't mean it's any cleaner.
Oh, 100%.
People always like, tell me where to eat, where not to eat. I was like, no, I'm not playing that game. I was like, I'll tell you extremely bad ones just because we're getting sick from eating there, but everywhere else, it's on you, man.
Yeah, we do have a few places here where, like, if I'm doing a service call and it's like their lunchtime, I'll scan the drive-through, make sure none of my friends are in the drive-through line or something like that. I'm like, this is gonna look real bad though if I walk up to a car, one of my friends is in it, and I'm like, nah, and then they pull off and drive away. But we do got a couple places like that.
Yeah, there is some bad ones out there, but I always tell them if you see the kitchen, you're generally pretty good, man. So, we both talked about doing the right thing. I mean, we all have guys we work with that take the easy way out. They always are looking for the quick in and out. They guess, pilot's out. Well, I'm gonna order a gas valve, thermocouple, thermopile, or pilot or whatever, and then they go back and they start throwing parts at it. And that's what this industry needs to get away from is guys like that. I mean, I don't know why or how, but it just seems like guys just don't have pride or just don't want to take the time to do it right. I don't know what it is or how we can get away from it. I mean, I preach have pride and show a little integrity, and you're going to make a ton of money. You're going to have a ton of fun doing this job, but you can't force it on people, I guess.
Yeah, see, I don't know how to get away from it. What I do, and I mean, you see probably all my posts, or if not the bulk of them, I just try to, encourage people to take the steps to do, work properly. And it's been pretty cool because I've gotten a few DMs on LinkedIn of people like, man, you're pushing me to be a better tech. You're pushing me to take pride in my work, whatever. So I think, there's some people that no matter what you do, they're not gonna step their game up. You know what I mean? And you can try. And I recently pissed off a few people I work with because they did some crappy work that cost us a ton of money. And I sent out an email, not naming them, but blasting the work that they did. Instead of taking it as something constructive, now they're literally, I guess, out to find a mistake that I make and put me on blast. Which I'm like, y'all gonna be disappointed because I'm gonna just say thank you very much for catching that. Have a good day.
Yeah,
but I think all we can do though is really, just try our best to encourage people to do what's right, and the people that are going to take it are going to take it. I think a lot of people want to do right, but if all they're seeing is the guys with the bad habits and the guys doing half-ass work, then it might be easy for them to be swayed to do it that way. But then when they see the handful of us that are like, no, step up your game, do better, take these few extra steps to make the job right, actually care, take pride in yourself. When they see that there are people doing that, I think, we'll be able to encourage them. And then obviously, the new guys, if we can, get in front of as many new guys as possible and be like, look, you don't have to do half-ass work. There's no reason
Mm.
to do half-ass work. Your company is paying you to do the job right. The customer's paying your company for you to do the job right. Take your time, do the job right, and do something that, one, takes care of the customer, and two, you can be proud of when you leave that call, and you can say, hey, you know what, I did my best. Even if you don't get it right, at least you did everything in your power to provide the best job for the customer that you could provide.
Yeah, 100%. I tell guys, hey, if I make a mistake, call me, tell me. I want to know what I did. I want to know what I can do to, prevent that from happening in the future. I want to learn from my mistakes and just own your mistakes. If you do mess up, own it. I'm not going to make an excuse. I mean, I know better. Even if I'm tired or I'm rushed, I still know better that I shouldn't be
Right.
lazy. I shouldn't, so I make sure that, I mean, we've all been there. It's 4 o'clock on a Friday. You got the part on your truck. It's a 3 hour job. You're like, I don't want to do this. I'm not on call. I could just say
Right.
I didn't realize I had the part and order it and come back next week. But like, I can't do it. I'm not made that way. It's four
And that's
o'clock
my thing.
Friday. I'm going to
The
change
amount
this
of times
part.
that I want to do that, like, people
Yeah.
don't get it. Like, I want to do that all the time.
Hmm.
Like Brian, for example, me and him talking, I'm like, bro, I wish I could be like these other guys that say, screw this crap,
Oh,
and
dude.
more diagnosis needed. See you next week sometime, or some crap like
Yeah.
that. I'm like, but I'm just not wired that way.
No, dude. Yeah, like you said, I want to do it. I want to go home. I don't want to be there at 6 o'clock on a Friday changing a compressor or doing something. I don't want to do that. I'd rather be at home goofing off, drinking a beer, hanging out with my
Right.
wife, playing with my kids, doing that kind of stuff. But guess what? I signed up to do this job, and I'm going to do it to the best of my ability because that's what I take pride in. So that's just
Yeah,
what's going to happen.
exactly.
I mean, believe me, I have that thought. I'll just go home. I just want to go home, but I'm not
Yeah,
going to do it.
all the time. I mean, today on that dishwasher install I was telling you about, it was such a pain to find the right, size water supply lines, the right size drain, to the point that I was like, I mean, I could really just, half-ass this, get back to the job site that's over 30 minutes away and get this done. I probably spent an extra hour going between Lowe's and Home Depot just to find the right stuff that I needed. Cause I'm like, as much as I'm telling myself, dude, just half-ass it, piece it together, it'll work long enough. I just couldn't bring myself to do it.
That's another thing. So where I work at, we have Lowe's cards, but there's not always a Lowe's everywhere. So if I know that okay, the nearest Lowe's is 45 minutes away, I'm not going to do it. I'll find a local hardware store. If I got to spend 20 to 100 bucks out of my own pocket, I'll get it back. I mean, it
Right.
sucks that I do it, but I will spend the 20 to 100 bucks out of my pocket and do it and get the job done versus, oh, I'm just going to drive 45 minutes. I mean, if you don't have a choice, you don't have a choice sometimes. And I'm not
Right.
saying, I'm not beating guys up that can't do that. That's just how I am. I'm going to try to save the company time, try to save the customer time, and
Oh
that's
yeah,
just
yeah,
how it
for sure.
works. So Michael now
Yeah.
says, I think the majority of techs just don't care for the job, and they are okay with mediocrity. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of guys are like that. Unfortunately, I'm trying to get the guys to not think that way for sure.
Yeah, and one of the things, again, you could probably tell this by a lot of the stuff I post, but a lot of it is mindset stuff,
Hmm.
like a question I like to always ask people, and I'm gonna ask you, you know, we fix, every job has an impact, right? No matter what your job is, you make an impact on society. You know what I mean? The way we make our impact is through fixing restaurant equipment.
Hmm.
But what is the impact that we make on society? What would you say that is?
Man, that's I've never thought of it that way. I mean, yeah, we fix the restaurants, but I mean, I enjoy seeing the smile on the customer's face when you fix it, because they've been struggling. I enjoy to see them have see like a weight's lifted. Okay, we have this piece of equipment. Hey,
Right.
I mean, that's what I enjoy. I mean, is to make someone happy. I mean, I'm not a comedian. I'm not, you know, that's not my job to make somebody happy. My job is to fix equipment, but the byproduct is you made someone's night easier. You made someone's day
Right.
smoother, and that's how I think it is.
See, and that's my thing. So to kind of give some context to why I asked this question. So a few years back, I was listening to a book. It's called "Thou Shalt Prosper," and it's by a Jewish rabbi. And he was saying, he's like, Jewish people tend to be successful in business. And he was saying the reason is, he's like, culturally, they tend to look at not the work they do, but the impact they make.
Mm-hmm.
And he was kind of breaking down that everybody makes an impact. So fast forward, I was listening to a podcast. Again, it's probably been a year since I listened to this particular podcast, but the host was talking on that same concept. And he takes a question from a guy, and the guy's like, yeah, well, you guys help people grow businesses, you help people, get their finances in order. It's easy for you to say that you make an impact. He's like, but what impact does my business make? So he's like, well, what's your business? So the guy that's asking the question is like, well, we rent porta potties to construction sites. He's like, what's the impact in that? And the host of the podcast is like, dude, do you understand the way that your company expedites progress and development? And he said, imagine, roads are being built, bridges are being built, plazas, houses. He's like, now imagine every time a construction worker had to take a crap or a piss, they had to get in their car, drive to the gas station, and then come back. How much slower would our progress be, in development and in construction and whatnot? And, that kind of got me thinking. And I'm like, what do? We do a lot as far as our impact, right? We save customers tons of money. You get there before their food spoils and their walk-in, you save them 10 grand. They're able to turn that 10 grand into profit through selling product. That keeps their staff employed. That keeps bills paid. That keeps food on people's table. You know what I'm saying? We stop the spread of foodborne illnesses, right? By making sure stuff's heating or cooling properly. And then aside from that, think about the stuff that goes on in restaurants, right? Yeah. People get, their first dates are in restaurants. People get engaged at restaurants. People have family celebrations. There's a lot of life events that take place at restaurants. Well, if we don't keep these places running, these life events aren't happening in those locations, right? So to me, that's one of the things that I look at when I'm doing this. I'm like, dude, I'm not just coming in here fixing your fryer, fixing your walk-in cooler. I'm helping you save money, make money, helping you keep people employed, bills paid. You know what I'm saying? If it's a fast food chain, you got, their families bringing their kids for ice cream, for different things like that. I'm like, we're helping people have, memorable life experiences through fixing restaurant equipment. And to me, it's like when you can look at the big picture and you can look at what you're actually doing, because, like psychologically and emotionally, I think everybody really wants to make an impact. They just don't realize what impact they're making or they have the potential to make. And if you think, oh, all I do is fix fryers and refrigerators, yeah, you're probably not going to be that enthusiastic about it. But if you're like, no, I'm helping this dude make money, I'm helping, this guy, they put their life savings into this restaurant, and this walk-in freezer going down could ruin them because it's 10 grand they don't have to replace. When you start thinking like that, you're like, dude, I'm actually doing something important. I'm doing something that makes a difference. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a very great way to look at it. I mean, I'm kind of blown away by that aspect. That makes a lot of sense. I always, when I'm at events or at trade shows and stuff, I'm like, oh, people ask what I do. I was like, oh, I just fix stuff. So like, no, you do more than that. Like, you don't realize what you do. You think you just fix stuff, but you do more than that. And that right there, that put it in great perspective. So I really appreciate it. That was good, man.
Cool.
So we got a few more people in here. Michael now says, well put. We got Bill in here, Curious HVAC guy. He's a friend of mine. He's got a YouTube channel and some podcast stuff. He's a pretty good dude. He does restaurant equipment. He doesn't really like it, but he does restaurant equipment. He's mainly an HVAC guy, but he does some work with some henny pennies and some other stuff. Occasionally I see him throw out there. So he's a pretty good dude. So
cool.
So have you seen any of this stuff about this automation stuff coming, like the robots, the fryer robots, or the other stuff that's coming out?
The only thing I've really seen automation wise is that I guess it was at was it NAFM that Atosa debuted that French fry making robotic arm. That's the only automation that I can think that I've seen. What have you seen?
Well, I've seen that, and then Miso makes a robot that's they can actually add on to Inspire Brands is testing it. I think they may be moving forward. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that, but so that's like your Buffalo Wild Wings. They're making one that dumps the wings and does stuff like that. It's just crazy the stuff I see at NAFM. I mean, they've got they've had the robots that will like bring your food to you for a while. There's a thing called Flippy or something that actually flips the burgers on grills and stuff now. It's just weird. So what's your outlook on that? So they're trying to figure out who's going to service this stuff. Um, are they going to be able to get a robotics guy to come in there and work on it, or is it going to be us that's going to come in there and work on it? So I am a firm believer. I want to work on it. If it's in there,
Yeah.
why call somebody else? Let me do it. So I was wondering what your take is. If you're, if you've got the same mindset, if it's in there, you're going to try to look at it.
I got the same take, right? I see those things start popping up. First thing I'm going to be doing is getting with the manufacturers and asking them for training material. I mean, anytime I've seen anything that looks new or different that may be coming to our industry, I start researching who's the manufacturers and either look on their websites or call an email, ask them, do y'all have classes? Y'all have training material? I want to be up on it. And if we prepare ourselves as that stuff starts becoming more and more common to be up on it, then of course they're going to come to us, for the service. If we keep our heads in the sand and are like, I ain't working on that, that's this, that, or the other, well, then of course they're going to have to start looking for other people to do it. But yeah, if we gear ourselves to do it, we'll be able to do it.
Yeah, so Equipment Dude says, I think it's kind of a gimmick. They have been making auto fries and things like that for years. Yeah, it's kind of I think a big push right now is the whole $15 hour minimum wage thing. And then there's just a shortage of people that actually want to work right now. So I think it's a popular thing right now to kind of get ahead of the worker shortage. So we'll see what happens. Some of them I've seen are pretty much you just unbolt the arm and bolt a new arm in place, send the one back to the manufacturer, and then they rebuild it on site. So it's hard telling. That Tosa one, man, it was dumping fries all day long, dude. It was pretty cool. I recorded a bunch. It was definitely neat, but we'll see about the longevity and how it will actually survive in a kitchen, because you all know it's based on cleaning, and if they're not going to clean the robot, if they're not going to clean the fryers, they're not going to clean the robot. I mean,
Oh yeah, everything works great in the warehouse and at NAPM, but you put that thing in the McDonald's, let's see what it does.
Yeah. So let's see. So Jennifer says, yeah, they're actually saving money buying them. That's what I heard. Like I seen the cost analysis, and it looks like they are actually saving money. It's kind of weird. You wouldn't think it, but they're some of them are like a lease, so there's really no service fee as long as you're paying that lease. It's
Right.
Service is included. And I think that's going to be how a lot of them are set up. So let's see what Joshua has to say here. Plenty of refrigeration companies lost business by sticking their heads in the sand when it came to R290. Would hate to get left behind. Yeah. R290s, I love it. A lot of guys hate it and they're scared of it. I'll work on it all day.
I love R290. And when I was in Florida, right when R290 was coming out, so many companies refused to work on R290. The amount of warranty work the company that I work for picked up just because I was like, and again, this goes back to, like I said, when I see something new, I try to get ahead of it.
Mhm.
As soon as I started seeing R290, True offered a training. I went to the True training online, got quote unquote R290 certified. Then I went to, I think it was maybe RSES or one of these other training, companies.
Mhm.
They had their, R290 training, took that. And then next thing you know, because some of the manufacturers are actually wanting R290 certified technicians, I got a crap ton of warranty work on me every single day because I'm one of the few people in Central Florida at the time that was willing to work on R290. I'm like, dude, my acetylene tank is more dangerous than an R290 reach-in cooler.
Dude, I love it, man. It's great. I've made so many videos where I just like cut the lines off of like a pair of linesmans, or just cut it
Oh,
off
that
and
was
let it
my
go.
favorite thing. Wheel that thing by the back door, cut the line, and let that sucker go. I'm
Well,
like,
people
man,
like I don't say it's R290. I'll put it up on like TikTok. People are like, we're calling EPA, and I'm like, all right, go ahead. Like, go ahead and call EPA. You don't know what this is.
yeah, I've had that happen before too, and I'm like, R290. Have fun with
I,
that.
I made a pretty decent little. I teach for Cephas, the refrigeration, so I made a pretty decent little slideshow about what I do for R290 and how I work on it. So like when I service R290, the first, if your normal stuff, you want to check your temperatures, your amp draw first to determine if it's a low loss situation or a loss of charge situation or what's going on. And then once you deem that hey, you do have to get into the system, I put my tap on there and I'll cut it and I'll let it out under the hood or by the back door. I'll purge nitrogen for 5 minutes. I'll come back and run my sniffer across it. If it's good, you're good to cut everything out. Do what you gotta do. But I've seen guys, struggle to pinch stuff off, catch stuff on fire. I got a unit at Cephas where someone tried, it was under warranty and the manufacturer pull the caps off and they didn't have it sealed off good. They tried brazing it, caught it on fire, and it's part of my training there. I just show them, hey, if you don't, pinch it off right, this is what happens. So I make sure that when we do the brazing side of class, I make sure that they all have to pressurize their project, and they have to pinch it off under pressure, and we throw it in a tub of water to see if it leaks.
Yeah, see what I do whenever I have to pinch off something R290, I have two different pinch tools. So what I'll do is I'll put one on, then I'll put the other one on, and then I got my two pinches there, and then I'll take that first one back off and make another pinch with it. And by the time I got that third pinch, I usually have nothing coming out, and I can braze right over it like nothing.
Yeah, I love it, man. I mean, and people are like, oh, you can't leave ports on there because it's illegal. I'm like, it's not illegal to leave ports on there. Like the amount of units that are coming out with ports still on them is, is
Oh
crazy anymore.
yeah,
I
yeah. I've
mean,
heard people tell that you can't have ports. I'm like, if y'all been doing this for any length of time, manufacturers for the most part never wanted ports on their equipment from factory, and that's because they didn't want Joe Schmo screwing with the thing. It's got
yep,
nothing to do with safety or the flammability of R290 or anything like that. Yeah,
it's all critical charge. They don't want,
yeah.
you see these guys come in, and the first thing they do is they throw gauges on something. Well, guess what? This
It,
thing holds 2.5 ounces, and you just put 6-foot hoses on there. Yeah, of course your pressures are low because there's nothing left in the system.
Years ago, I mean, and this was still 134A, but I got a warranty call for a manufacturer we did work for. And when I walk into the kitchen, there's gauges on the unit. And I'm like, the hell? The owner's like, oh, yeah, I used to do AC work. So I just figured I'd throw my gauges on and check the pressure. I'm like, what? Now imagine they did that with R290.
Oh yeah, that's great. I love it though. I mean, it saves so much time. You're not dragging in a reclaim machine, reclaim tanks, and it's scales
That's
to
my favorite
reclaim.
part, not lugging around the tank and the recovery machine. Hell
Yep.
yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I always teach the guys of like, if you're under a hood, make sure nothing is lit around there, and you can do it. And I've done some work at Starbucks where you can't pull a unit out, and there's no hood in there, and I'll put a piercing valve on there, and I've got a 50-foot hose, and I'll run it out the door, and I'll put 100 psi nitrogen behind it for
Yeah,
5 minutes,
exactly.
blow it all out, and then there's nothing left in there. But just the people that are uneducated and scared about just because it's got that big yellow sticker on there blows my mind.
Yeah, like I said, your acetylene tank is a lot more dangerous than an R290 unit by a long
Even if it
shot.
does catch fire, it's only going to be for next to nothing. I mean,
Mhm.
and
I mean, it's
and it,
basically like a lighter flame.
yeah, yeah, and yeah. That's why I still understand how that guy did what he did with that one Fessa, because it's bad. It burned up all the wiring and all kinds of stuff. I was like, how did he even do this, man? It was a brand new unit under warranty. They ended up having to buy that customer a new unit.
Oh, damn.
It was bad. So yeah, Jennifer, long ass hoses and refrigeration pissed me off. I don't even use hoses anymore unless I'm reclaiming or I'm charging. Everything I use is job link, field piece job link probes. No hoses on nothing unless I got to pull refrigerant out. And then when I even charge, I just got a single hose. I run into a T, and then my job link probes on the other section of my
Yeah.
T. So I
See,
try to stay away from manifolds.
I gotta upgrade the probes, but I use just some stubby gauges right now.
Yep.
Um, and I mean, when I was doing ice machines, one of the first things I learned at Manitalk training was don't put hoses on an ice machine. And then after a while, I'm like, well, I mean, if it's good practice to use stubbies on ice machines to minimize the loss, I'm like, common sense says it's good to use them on anything. So I don't care if I'm on a walk-in cooler or a RTU or anything. I'm using my stubbies because at the end of the day, we do want to, minimize the amount of charge that we lose.
Yeah. So I've worked for companies where when you did a PM, they wanted you to check pressures. I'm like, why do you want me to check pressures on a piece of equipment that's working perfectly? I was like, I don't get it. I mean, like you're, and then that's before I knew about the stubbies and the job link probe stuff like that. I'm like, so here I am screwing on a 5 or 6 foot hose.
Mhm.
I mean, so every time you check pressures, you're losing what, an ounce and a half, 2 ounces of refrigerant every single time. Eventually, you're
Yeah.
creating your own problem. Then you're gonna be
Yeah, and
looking
then
for a
you're
leak,
gonna
and you
spend
don't
three,
have a
4 hours
leak
leak checking that for a leak that ain't there. Yeah.
that you did yourself over the last 2 or 3 years just checking charge. So yeah,
And
I don't like doing that on PM. I don't like if PM says you got to check charge. I try to avoid it.
I'm big on checking charge without even connecting my gauges. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Between checking the amp draw on the compressor, checking your
Discharge,
your
suction, liquid
discharge.
temps.
Exactly. You have at least a more or less good idea. By the time I have to hook gauges on for the most part, I'm just confirming that I know it's either low on charge or if I think it's a restriction or something like that. But I'm not putting them on there to see what the problem is. It's like, okay, we're probably low on charge. Let me throw these on and make sure and see what's what.
Right. He said, "Are the guys heating up the R290 tank of a torch?" Uh, Dude, the R290 tanks, the good thing about them is when they get low, you can actually like smash them with your hand to force the rest of the refrigerant out.
Can you really?
Yeah, so that's just a small little tanks. You can, once they're low and they're like, because we reuse them. We used to not reuse them, but we keep using them until they're gone. It used to be like one per job and you just throw the excess away. But yeah, I mean, if you get, if you just need a couple more grams, whatever, you can actually literally squeeze that can and smash it and force it out.
Oh shoot, that's cool. I'm gonna have to try that.
Most of the time, I just run them under hot water before I use them, just to make sure I get the pressure up a little bit. Jennifer's got a good point. She says to mess up the pressure so the service call comes next. Yeah, it seems almost like that's what it is. I mean, I just think that sometimes people who write the PM procedures don't really know what you're doing when you're doing that every single time. I think just people aren't educated to write the PM procedure. That's what I hope, anyways, is what's going on.
Yeah, hopefully it's not intentional. But I mean, I've known people. I knew a guy that had his own plumbing and HVAC company back in Florida, and he told me one day, he's like, "Man, you can kind of, whenever you do a repair, you can kind of rig the machine so it'll break down in the next 3-4 months, and you get another call." I'm like, "Yeah, that's good to know." No, I know I ain't doing that.
What's up, Adrian? So we got Reliable HVACR in here. Adrian's a good dude to follow. If you don't follow him on Instagram, look him up, man. He's got a good channel. He does it's a small family-owned business. His dad does cooking side, and he does HVAC and refrigeration side. He does really good work, man.
Cool. Reliable HVAC.
Reliable HVACR. Yep, he's on everywhere. So just look for that name and follow him. He's a good dude, man. He puts out really good content, and he breaks stuff down, and he does a good job at it. So
cool.
So, any words of advice you give a young guy getting into this field?
I mean, the thing I say in most of my videos, is try a little harder to do a little better. I mean, if you give effort, I mean, you decide that you want to learn, you want to try to do a good job, stick it out, like anything, no matter what job, what career you're in, you got days that are great, you got days that suck. But if you're willing to do a good job, build, trust of the customers and whatnot, it's a great field to be in. You just take little steps. That's one of the things. Whenever I have say like a PM tech or somebody riding with me to do some training, I'm like, it's not about all this big stuff that you see done. I'm like, it's little steps, dude. I'm like, if you cut zip ties off of wires, put zip ties back on before you're done. You know what I mean? If you got clippings on the floor, sweep them up. It's I think what's like an Aristotle quote that says something along the lines of like, we are what we repeatedly do. So that means excellence is a habit, or something like that. Basically, all them small little things. If you're intentional about doing little things well and you push yourself to learn, you'll do good.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in that, man. I've got guys I work with, they'll spill oil on the floor and they won't clean it up. I'm like, that customer didn't make that mess. I made that mess, dude. Like,
Yeah.
I don't expect them to clean that up. That's one thing. If I start cleaning up and they're like, no, we'll get that. And they're
exactly.
adamant about it, but I don't ever. I clean it up before someone gets a chance to say something. I'm not. I mean, for one, it's disrespectful, to make a mess in their place, not clean it up. But it's a hazard. Someone could step in that, slip and slide, and get hurt. I mean, there's so many things that could happen with a little bit of grease. I mean, I always just try to clean it up to myself. My wife doesn't work here. My mom doesn't work here, so I just do what I gotta do, man.
Yeah. Try to leave everything better than what you found it. I mean, that's literally our job, right? Like you go when something's broken and you got to leave it fixed. So try to leave everything better than the way you found it. And then is it Joey that does like those insane PMs where he's like deep cleaning everything and all that? And it's like, dude, like, I mean, that's beyond even me, but I'd be like, that's some cool work that he does there.
Yeah, he works for himself, so he gets opportunity to do a little more things that some of us probably will get to do, but he does an amazing job. That's why I wanted to have him on PNs, just because he always goes above and beyond. And I wanted to talk to him about what he does, and it's really cool to see what he does, man.
Oh yeah, I love watching his videos. I'm like, this is awesome. I could never do all that, but this is awesome. I mean, shining the outside of the units and all that good stuff. Shoot.
I think is there a guy named Paul on? Is that his name on LinkedIn? He Bio Control 365 or whatever, like where he cleans restaurant equipment.
Yeah, I don't know if his name is Paul or not, but I seen the way he does that stuff. That stuff comes out looking brand freaking new.
He'll have that fryer that's 15 years old and looks terrible, and he gets done, it looks brand new. I'm like, how did you do that, dude? I was like, that's freaking sweet.
Yeah, I'm like, they should mandate it. It should be like a health department mandate that he has to come through and clean every restaurant because he does some
Uh,
insane work there.
Brian says, "Thank you for training him."
Uh,
uh, I won't keep you much longer. It's getting late, and if we go too long, it's a mess. So, but
right. I got
where
you.
can everybody find you? I know you started Instagram. You're on TikTok now, and you're like me. You like showing your work. So, if you want people to follow you, just tell everybody where they can find you and where they can
Yeah,
see your stuff.
so I'm on LinkedIn, Rich Ortega. I'm on Instagram and TikTok. It's Rich in Kitchens. I'm starting a Facebook page under that same name, and I think that pretty much covers my big. Oh, and YouTube also, Rich in Kitchens.
Cool. So, I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of your stuff coming out, and I'm sure we're going to talk a lot more here in the future. I'm sure.
Oh, for sure, man. And I appreciate all the input you've given me on my content and whatnot, and I appreciate
Yeah,
that a lot.
I'm I'm nobody, man. Somehow I won an award. I don't know how, just because I think it's
That was
mass
a
like
technical
quantity.
award.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's just mass like quantity of stuff I put out there, but it's I like just putting my work out there. I think that if you take enough pride in your work to show it, that you're going to better yourself.
Oh yeah,
So
for sure.
all right, well, we're going to get out of here. Thanks everyone for joining. Thanks for
Yeah,
coming
and
on,
thanks for
Rich.
having me.
Yep.
Appreciate it.